Oh my God, I was about to lose myself and my town. But luckily, I was inspired, Omar.
Mm-hmm.
I was inspired when I recalled you. Because, Omar, you're something of a folk hero to me.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
And I feel like in these chaotic times, you serve as an emotional tether, keeping me tied to the grounded reality of this Riverdale Season 6 podcast.
Oh, that's so sweet. That means a lot to me. I was about to erect a statue to my incredibly problematic, possibly genocidal ancestor.
I'm so
but
glad
then I
you
stopped.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was like, I asked myself, as I always do, what would Sarah do? And I went, not this. But instead, Sarah would probably record an episode of Riverdale Season 6 of the podcast. And I'm so excited to chat about this one.
That's exactly what I would do. Welcome, listeners, to episode 10 of Riverdale Season 6, the podcast. They said we couldn't do it. When we were going around Hollywood, talking to all the bigwigs in their production studios, pitching the idea for a Riverdale Season 6 podcast, they said, you'll never make it to episode 10.
Mm-hmm.
And we've proven them wrong.
They talk like Rocco's neighbors in Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah. And to celebrate how wrong they were, we brought our listeners a very special guest.
Yes.
You might know him from his stand-up comedy. You might know him from the show he hosts with his amazing wife, future guest of the pod. You might know him from his incredible TTRPG work, whether you were a listener to Stream of Blood, or you listen to Glass Cannon, or just all over the ding-dang place. Everyone welcome Jared Logan.
Hello. You might not know me, and that's okay, too.
That's not one of the options that I provided.
Oh, okay. You know me. We know each other.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for introducing me to Riverdale.
You're
yes.
so
okay, so this
welcome.
is new for you. This is new territory?
So, here's my full Riverdale history. It's short.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I watched the first episode of the first season.
Sure.
We weren't into it.
Mm-hmm.
No, but now?
But now, I am a huge fan.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize is I needed to start in the middle of season 6.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
And that's what I'm going to tell people. Like, should I get into Riverdale? I'll be like, you really have to start in the middle of season 6 in order to enjoy it.
Yes. Episode 10, pretty specifically. I have that thing with books. I am like, the beginning of a book can bore me out. I'm just like, no. I started reading Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I was like, this book is about trains and eating peppers. And I skipped ahead and I went, there's a Dracula in the Dracula book. It brought me right in.
You know, I'm a giant fan of the novel Dracula. My favorite thing about the novel Dracula is it was kind of written before we had like action movies or the idea of the idea of what a hero is, you know, in kind of pop culture. So everyone in that book, like, I mean, the tough guys, like the heroes, are constantly fainting because like Dracula looks at them. They're like, oh God. Like, I think they ejaculate and then they fall, they pass out.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
that was your pitch to Coppola, right? For the movie version.
I would say, to be fair to them, that's probably what I would do if Dracula looked at me. If hormone replacement therapy hadn't robbed from me my ability to ejaculate, which is a positive. I just want to say that's a positive.
The wording of it did pose it in a certain way.
You're invulnerable to Dracula.
I'm invulnerable to Dracula.
Wow.
He could never ejaculate me into unconsciousness.
Just like Archie's emotional tether makes him invulnerable to Percival's mind control.
That's the fucking spirit, Jared.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk about art. Thank you.
Let's jump right in because boy, is this episode jam-packed. This is the long... so, Jared, the way this podcast works is when I remember, I try to take notes on every beat that happens in the episode. And this is the longest list I've had so far.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot to cover here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you do have any questions, we do have an ongoing segment that runs the entire length of the podcast called Ask Azzy, because we are, of course, joined by our producer, Azzy. How's it going?
Hello. Yeah.
Azzy.
You. Yeah, I've been tasked to become an expert on the lore, and I'm only kind of half there.
Azzy's main downside as an expert on the lore of Riverdale is that she did not watch seasons 1 through 5 and is only caught up to the episode we're currently recording.
Yeah, but I'm resourceful, so if you got a question, you can send it my way, and I'll send it back as fast as possible.
I have so many questions, but I don't know if anyone has the answers, including the writers and producers of Riverdale.
I think that's where you're probably wrong. I'd say this is the most intricately plotted out and meticulously crafted season of television of all time.
Okay.
So first we start with a really inspiring monologue about folk heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as soon as that monologue started, I was like, I'm so glad this is Jared's episode because this is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Jared, about folk heroes? Do you have a favorite?
Folk heroes. I mean, it's just something that you would naturally bring up in conversation all the time. It's sort of a real chill thing that isn't incredibly dorky at all. Folk heroes. I was like, this is so fucking dorky, not nerdy, dorky. When the monologue started. I like folk heroes.
Yeah,
Paul Bunyan.
Yeah. Do you have a sense of who the narrator is providing that monologue?
That's Jughead, right?
It's a Jughead. Do you know which one?
Okay, so you gave me the slightest bit of background before I did the show, before I watched the show.
Yeah.
And you said that there is an alternate Jughead who is writing what is happening in the show that you see.
Well, he's actually okay. So the alternate Jughead who's trapped in the bunker as an imaginative universe battery is writing the stories for the Splinterverse Riverdale.
Yeah, I can see how that would be confusing.
Yeah, peek behind the curtains,
honest, Sarah, I can't take it all in right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like the blind men touching the elephant. Like, I can only touch the trunk right now and think it's a snake. You know?
Yeah.
That makes total sense. I do want to give the listeners a peek behind the curtain. As Jared indicated, not every listener is coming in completely cold. I do have to lure them in somehow. And I'm pretty confident that I don't ever tell them anything that makes anything that they then see make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We call those little tidbits Riverdale's tasty treats.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are not unlike Abigail Blossom's poison scones that she offers to her nearest and dearest in order to stop them so that she can then get Tony Topaz and eject Tony Topaz's spirit out of her body in order to put the spirit of her long lost love back into the body.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
recapping Riverdale makes you sound like you're schizophrenic.
Can I tell you what makes that even crazier? Is that's just like the E plot of the last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can, listener, now buy arsenic lace scones in our merch store, riverdale6pod.com. Okay.
Can I just ask some questions about Riverdale?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, please.
It's based on the Archie intellectual property.
Right.
Yeah.
Loosely.
But it's made for people who wouldn't be familiar with the Archie intellectual property.
Neither Omar nor I have read the comics.
Yep.
Okay,
haven't touched one.
I'm a 44, and I will tell you that I read tons of Archie comics.
Okay.
When we would go on vacation in the car, my dad would buy us like a bag of like Archie Double Digest, which would have like
yep,
like 20 stories in it. And so the first comics, because I'm a big superhero and all kinds of comic collector now, but the first comics I broke my teeth on were Archie comics. So I'm familiar with like most of the characters, but they weren't like this in the comics that I read.
No?
I see.
And I just think we need to get back to the pure American values of the old comics.
You know,
back when America was pure. I think white.
I have a character you're really gonna like, Jared. Speaking of whom, well, conveniently, he's just stepped down as deputy in order to open up a curiosity shop.
Yeah.
And so he has lots of
As
free
you do.
time. Yeah, he's got a lot of free time to help try to make Riverdale great again. And I love, we learn a little bit more about Percival Pickens. He's apparently sung in Caesar's Palace, the Sydney Opera House, the Moulin Rouge. And turns out he's kind of a bisexual king.
Yeah. I will say, not that this is super important, but I have been to the Sydney Opera House. First of all, it's got like scales. I didn't realize that as an American. That was a surprise to me. I thought it was
You
a
didn't know what it
smooth
looked
kind
like?
of- Yeah, I knew the general shape, but like the tiling itself is kind of scaly.
Interesting.
But also I saw Romeo and Juliet there. I don't mean to put anyone on blast, but I was like, I've traveled across the world to see something at the Opera House. And it was funny because I was like, oh yeah, it's a building. And I know that's like very unfair, but I went in, and also I had been running around all day. I'd been rained on, and I changed into my fancy clothes in the bathroom. So maybe I was bringing that energy of American casualness. But
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny when he was like, I've been at the Sydney Opera House. And I was like, yeah, okay.
So have I,
big whoop.
buddy.
Yeah,
whoop.
exactly. Yeah, well, I changed
Join
in that
the
bathroom.
club,
Join the
PP.
club. It's common knowledge that everyone on this podcast has to have sung at the Sydney Opera House. We're not going to let them in. That's our
No.
vetting. That's how we
Do
vet.
we think that, did you get a sense of like, that's Sydney Opera House level, that's Moulin Rouge level singing?
he was a
for the
When
disappointing
characters
Percival
song?
sang,
singer.
when Percival
Yeah.
sang,
Like,
what I
all the
think is
song choices.
amazing is that
Mhm.
Percival can do anything, including mind control.
Yeah.
And they hired an actor who also can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Including
Including
he's
mind control.
basically the perfect man, which makes him such an insidious villain.
That's
Yes.
so true.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to divert our focus from Percival and his abs. I mean, his evil plans for a second here, Jared. I sometimes I'm just going to run lines by you, and I just want you to like tell me what your
React.
understanding of
Yeah,
it
just a
is.
vibe check.
Yeah.
This is Cheryl Blossom. If not for your efforts, I would have been trapped in the corridors of Abigail Blossom's mind forever. What do you think that's about?
Hard to know, because like I said, I didn't watch the previous 9 episodes.
Sure.
Sure.
But I am familiar with, the trope of a doll that is currently possessed by what I assume is a malevolent spirit. And it sounds like Cheryl had been having some sort of psychic crisis. She's been trapped in someone's mind. This was, as you say earlier, like the E-plot of this episode, which is so wild.
Yeah.
I just want to know what's happening in the Riverdale writers' room. Is it like, because it sounds like there's a lot of nerds, but then they've also got to hang out with people who are good at like the teen heat part of it.
Okay.
So it's a real eclectic mix in there. And also, there's apparently been some sort of chemical leak in the Riverdale writers' room.
Okay.
You
And
think
it's
so?
causing them to, it's causing them to trip wildly.
That's interesting.
What are those chemicals? Yeah.
Yeah. You think they're all tripping?
Do you mean
Well, or-
physically? Like it's like
Wait,
like oil?
No, Omar,
like
I think I understand what Jared's saying.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying they must all be on something like DMT or ayahuasca because clearly they're communing.
Oh.
They're communing with the spirits in order to channel this bit of divine art for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's-
that's a totally valid, or a drum of some sort of industrial solvent has spilled in the writer's room and no one is cleaning it up.
Oh,
David
okay.
Zaslav was just like, "Hey, can we store this here for like a hot sec? We sold our storage unit, so do you mind if we just keep this open?"
Okay, well that's an interesting take on this line from Cheryl, and might be correct. I don't know, because things that happen outside of the Riverdale universe, I'm completely ignorant of.
Abigail is a famous haunted doll, right? Like in real life.
Abigail is a famous haunted doll.
A real one? Or
Isn't the
real?
movie?
I mean,
like the movie? Isn't there
Abigail, right? Okay, I've seen the
but it's
Abigail
based off
movie.
of a real doll, right?
Wait,
Azzy?
so wait, So
I'm tracking.
I don't think it's based off a real doll. I think it's just from the Conjuring universe. But so Riverdale was just like, yeah, we'll also have a haunted doll named Abigail.
Well, okay, she didn't.
Okay,
please, Ozzy.
Abigail is Riverdale. Annabelle.
Annabelle. Oh,
thank you.
Wow, we all said that in unison. That was fun.
That's great. Abigail was not a haunted doll until the possessed Cheryl Blossom was burned at the stake by her friends Archie, Jughead, and Betty at the end of the last episode, banishing the spirit of Cheryl's ancestor, the 1890s witch Abigail Blossom, from Cheryl's body into the doll.
It makes sense, yeah.
Are you maybe...
And it totally fits in a show where a boyfriend and a girlfriend have a fight over the fact that he put her slot machines into his mechanic shop.
Yeah.
So true.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, we got to move forward because we have so many plot points.
Let's start covering the episode.
Yeah. How do you feel about the erection of a glorious new statue of Percival's ancestor, General Pickens, who tamed these wild lands?
I think that the racist statue aspect of the plot needed way more development. I had so many questions, and
wait, were they not all answered by Archie jumping in with, he's a homicidal maniac who slaughtered the Utena tribe?
I mean, to me, I want to hear more. I want to know more. I want flashbacks, let's make it a period piece for a minute. That seems like a really interesting. Can I ask, what year did this air? Do you guys know?
Good question.
That's a great question. That's an Azzy question.
I believe 2021, but I will make sure.
Okay, I was just curious whether, it aired during when there was a lot of controversy over statues, which I think would have been around 2018, 2017, something like that.
2021 through 2022.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that okay, so if I was writing the show, I feel like there's so much interesting drama to mine from that controversy.
Right.
And what a great topic to confront with young characters who are, who have a different perspective on it than a lot of people, and who are fighting a sort of the forces of, the reactionary, staid, conservative town around them. So could have been interesting to go deeper into that. But we
Jared.
gotta get to the spontaneous human combustion.
No, I appreciate you saying this, because so you're saying if you were in the Riverdale writers room,
right,
you would maybe,
and I was wearing some sort of filter.
You're wearing a filter. Yeah, you're wearing an industrial
Yes.
gas mask.
Yeah.
You might report all of these characters back into sort of like the late 1950s, erase their memory of everything that's happened, put them back in high school, and have them confront the racial tensions of the early civil rights movement in America?
Yeah, or they could just have a plot about a statue now. That would be fine too. I'm really feeling the former. Like what you just suggested is still something the Riverdale writers would go for.
Yeah, almost like the entirety of what season 7 is.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm sure time travel has taken place multiple times on this show.
Not yet, actually.
What? I'm shocked.
It will, but not yet.
Yeah.
And you brought up the spontaneous human combustion.
No, that's so far down, Azzy. You want to jump to that?
Know. I brought it up.
You want to blow our load so early?
We'll
like
get
Dracula
to the
just stared at us?
We'll get to the spontaneous human combustion, but I just want to note for every listener that I have so much to say.
And I want to note for listeners, despite what your local FBI agent might tell you, spontaneous human combustion is not extremely rare because it's not real. And you don't have to be afraid of it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but we'll get there.
You clearly have never spoken to one of the FBI agents that works for the Paranormal Bureau.
That's true. I haven't been put in contact with the paranormal FBI agents.
Yeah.
What did you think of that new sign, though? Riverdale, you can't stop progress.
Yeah.
Well, I was pretty furious that they took Pop's chocolate shop off of it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Really fucked up.
that's like how dare they? You know, Pops is a Riverdale institution.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the correct way to feel about it.
Do you feel that Riverdale really encapsulates that whole concept of you can't stop progress?
You definitely can't stop Riverdale.
I think that's a better sign. Riverdale,
Yeah.
You can't stop Riverdale.
I love
you
that.
can't stop
When
us.
the CW definitely stopped Riverdale.
No, Riverdale
You Can't
had
Stop
told
Us
the
is great.
story it wanted to tell, and it bowed out gracefully.
This is not the last season, is it?
No,
No.
there's one more season.
7 seasons. Riverdale did okay.
It did okay.
Mhm.
They
They
did
did
quite
great.
well.
And these are like 22 episode seasons
Yeah.
being aired in the
Dude.
2020s. That's
Yeah.
cray-cray. Okay, so Jared, this is a bit of a tangent, but I've been reading this parapsychology book,
Mm-hmm.
and I've learned that if someone's trying to control your mind, you can resist it by thinking about something that serves as an emotional tether.
Oh, cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the
Mhm.
listeners already know that my emotional tether is Omar. But
Mhm.
what's your emotional tether?
My emotional tether, it would have to be someone with whom I have a shared history,
Sure.
whom I have a strong emotional connection to,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
who I've shared many quiet, intimate moments with.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I'm going to go with Goofy's son Max from the
Oh,
cartoon
Of
Goof Troop.
course.
Mhm.
Of course. Goof Troop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone was trying to mind control me, I would just look at an old DVD of the Goofy movie.
Yeah.
And
yeah. That's
Yeah,
a
I
great
love the-
answer.
I love the idea of like you being mind controlled to like some horrible, dark, terrible plot, and then another character, one of us, just running up and be like, "Jared, no, but Jared, listen, yuck!
I
Don't
think,
you remember?"
Omar, I'm afraid
Yeah.
you're just describing any Kingdom Hearts game.
you know what? I was with the Goofy Max answer, I was trying to give this weirdest, silliest answer I could. But if we're gonna go, let me be real with you for a second.
Okay.
I think what would work for me is just if whenever Percival was trying to control my mind, if there was just a sandwich sort of right behind him,
yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and I would be like, yes, do and then I'd be like, oh, a sandwich.
sandwich.
I appreciate you giving us a serious answer.
Yeah, I'm the Jughead of my own life.
Oh, would that we all were
Yeah.
the Jughead of
mhm.
Jared's life.
What happens if you make an emotional connection with Percival? Does that then nullify the
Oh.
powers? If you're
If
like,
Yeah,
you're
can I
being
tell you what
impossible.
happens? Spontaneous human
You're
combustion.
Of
right,
course.
you're right.
Of course. Yep.
It's rare, but
It's rare. This is just a little note, but at the start of one of the little town hall scenes, Alice Cooper just gets to give a little knock with her tiny little gavel, and she's having so much fun. And I just
Loves
wanted to say, great job, Alice Cooper.
Yeah,
Why do they hold the town hall meetings inside of a boxing gym?
Okay, long story
and why
short.
are there only 3 members of the town council?
we can't answer that.
We can answer
can't.
both of
Oh,
those
you know
things.
what the
Yeah, long story short here, Jared. You know Veronica Lodge.
Yes, the owner of the Babylonian casino.
Yes,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
you're aware of her father, Hiram Lodge, from the time you read the comics.
Yes, yeah.
And you're probably also aware from the comics that Hiram Lodge launched a brutal economic campaign against the town of Riverdale to try to drive it into such poverty that the town had to disenfranchise itself so that he could buy up all the land and get access to the rich palladium deposits underneath Riverdale.
Yeah, I think that was in a Betty and Veronica comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you probably also know that Archie started the El Royale boxing gym as a way to inspire the local youth of Riverdale and keep them out of trouble as part of the gang's prolonged campaign to prevent Hiram Lodge from destroying the town. And it has become sort of the emotional heart and center of New Riverdale.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, okay. I understand that now.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So that's why the town hall meetings are held there.
Yeah, and the reason there's 3 is because Tony
That did not answer the question.
Tony Topaz was ejected from the Council of 4 because of her affiliations with the Serpents.
The Southside Serpents.
The Southside Serpents.
It was decided that you couldn't be a member of the Council of 4 and the Serpent Queen.
I just can't believe they're selling diner food at the Babylonium.
That's so fucked up of them. That was
honestly
so fucked up.
Let me ask you, as a food connoisseur yourself, someone who's emotionally tethered to sandwiches, which I really vibe with, to be quite honest. How did you feel about milkshake shots, like little shooters that are full on little milkshakes?
I think that it's really so fucked up because Pops sells milkshakes.
Yeah.
Thank
you.
So
if you make milkshake shots at your casino, basically people that were going to go to the diner for milkshakes, instead they're going to go inside a casino.
Thank you, Jared.
To get alcoholic milkshakes instead of going to your diner.
Yeah. The high school kids will be going and gambling their hard-earned money.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, how are you supposed to pick, though? When you can either go to a family diner or the gang-run bar underneath the family diner or the casino on the outskirts of town. Like, you can only go to one of them.
It's that philosophical question of if you put 3 plates of food in front of a dog, which one will they choose?
Yeah, and then they'll just die.
Yeah. That's happening to Riverdale right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
But okay,
does one of those businesses have sexy dancing?
I was about to say, what if we put sexy dancing on one of those plates of food?
Sexy dancing sells me. By the way, I don't want to go to a strip club. I want sexy dancing
at my bar. It's not stripping.
Yes,
it's sexy dancing.
It's not stripping. It's the serpent dance.
It's burlesque. It's the serpent dance. Though I do have some concerns about that, Jared.
Okay.
It's not that I'm a prude, but I don't know. Can you really justify doing sexy dancing to make a quick buck when you're in a custody battle for baby Anthony?
You know, when I heard that, I said, this is not the time. You know, this is irresponsible.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that they came to their senses.
You know? I am too.
Yeah.
And
also alcohol in a family-run business.
Ridiculous.
No, you know what that is going to lead to? Like little shots of whiskey and stuff. It's going to lead to people urinating out back.
Right.
Drunk people pissing on the side of a town establishment. Not just a town establishment, not just a diner, but one could argue the literal very soul of the town of Riverdale.
Wait, I thought that was Archie's gym.
No. Archie's gym is the heart of Riverdale. But one could argue that Pop's Chocolate Shop is the literal soul of Riverdale, to the extent that the devil himself wants to attain control over it, but the Archangel Gabriel might provide you with a resource, say, the tears shed by the Virgin Mary at the crucifixion, that you can use to sanctify the chocolate shop and protect it from evil encroachment.
I really hate to do this to you, Sarah. It was the Archangel Raphael.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I'm not a real... Oh, well, wait. I was just speaking hypothetically about what one
surely
could...
this whole...
Thank you so much, Azzy, for correcting me. I deserve it, and I'm sorry, everyone. I failed Riverdale. It's like in order to save Riverdale, I challenged someone to a boxing match, and then they got mind controlled to walk into traffic, and then I had to fight a different guy, and I just lost embarrassingly.
You saying Gabriel was the proverbial palladium in a boxing club.
Yes, you're so true.
You're so
chestnut.
True.
Yeah.
And I will say,
but I just want to say this whole Raphael, Archangel plot with like the devil, surely this is something that's been woven into the show's lore since season 1, right?
Yeah,
I mean, this is like an ongoing thing that this is how the show was conceived, right? This is
by season 1, do you mean season 6, episode 3, and only season 6, episode 3?
This show is so genius.
Yeah.
Hey, if you had to guess what
it refuses to be defined.
If you had to guess what the devil's name was,
what
would it be?
Yeah, you're back in the Riverdale's writer's room. You're wearing your industrial gas mask. What are you naming the devil?
If I'm wearing my gas mask, I'm going to say Lucifer, Beelzebub.
Sure.
The Prince of Lies.
Yeah, you're close, but you need a little more pizzazz.
Yeah, a little more pizzazz. Maybe think first and last name.
Yeah.
Come here. I mean, if I take my gas mask off,
yeah, sure.
I'm definitely going to use some sort of alliterative name, like Archie Andrews or Kevin Kellerman. So I'm going to guess for the devil, I don't know, Roderick Rogers.
That's a good name.
That's interesting.
That's a good guess.
That's a really good name.
Would you be upset if I said it was Lou Cipher?
Lou Cipher?
Yeah, Mr. Cipher. First name Lou.
Oh my God! Get them out of the room. The chemicals.
Get them out of that room, and you know what? Get them back into the El Royale because it's Abs Day, everybody.
It's
you
want to
look at some abs? You want to look at some abs lying on a bed of nails covered in cinder blocks? We got you. You want to look at some abs being hit by a sledgehammer? We got you. You want to look at some abs emerging from a misty deep freezer? Oh, baby, this might come as a surprise. But we got you because Archie Andrews is trying to set a Guinness World Record today as the world's toughest man. And as we all know, those are the 3 parts of the challenge.
Yes.
The harping on Guinness World Records drove me actually insane. The amount of times that Guinness World Records is name dropped in this episode is ludicrous.
I do want to get...
What record was he trying to hit?
World's toughest man.
World toughest boy.
Oh, something that can be quantitatively
measured.
Yeah. Also, weird note, I think Guinness World Records might be the first straight up brand name that has not been altered.
Oh yeah.
Why isn't it Guinness World Records?
I just want to speak to the abs thing for a moment.
Yeah.
A lot of really beautiful bodies on display in this episode of the male variety and the female variety. And I just want to say I'm happy that there is a show that helps 8th graders get sexually aroused. And as a father, I would be like, you're into the 8th grade now. It's time to occasionally become uncomfortably sexually aroused while watching TV. Let's turn on Riverdale.
Because it's it's just the right amount of sexy ab action, but nothing too far.
Yeah, and then also, sexy dancing
dance,
in the
fully
bar.
covered sexy dance.
But we're not a bed of nails. Might I also float that out? A fridge where you keep a man for an indeterminate amount of time.
I feel my 8th grade self developing some very odd fetishes as we speak.
Every kink is represented.
I'm so sorry, baby. I just can't get in the mood unless you've been locked in a deep freezer for a record-breaking amount of time.
I can't get hard unless you put me in a bathtub full of ice cubes and shout at me not to blow up.
Oh, that's interesting that you bring that up, Jared. Was that just a random thought that occurred to you?
Yeah, is it just a random mental image?
Interesting, because that's crazy. Because that's exactly what Betty does to Cheryl when she's at risk of spontaneously combusting due to her pyrokinetic powers. Oh, wow.
I forgot. Yeah.
What kismet then that you've brought this up? And how about we talk a little bit about Cheryl and pyrokinesis? I have a question for you, Jared.
Yes.
You have a fever. And I'm going to scroll through my notes
here. We'll get to the question in a second. We did more quickly diagnose you with a seasonal flu.
I'm scrolling through my notes because I do want to, there are some lines I want to make sure I get correct in here. Okay. Your night nurse, Darius.
Oh my God, we hadn't mentioned Darius yet. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Just as an aside, I do want to point out such pillowy lips, Darius.
Such pillowy lips.
You wake up. Darius has comforted you enough to fall asleep amidst your fever, and you wake up, and poor Darius is burnt to a crisp, all of him except for his ankles and feet. How do you feel?
I mean, horrible, because Darius is so caregiver. He's a nurturer.
Yes.
Part of the family.
He has this. I mean, we only see him for a minute, but he has this just incredible nurturing spirit.
Yeah.
And so I feel the loss as if it was an actual loved one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. New scenario. You're an FBI agent. Do you check in on your secret cousin, Cheryl Blossom?
Yeah.
Who, just if maybe the night before, a few nights, it's unclear. You burned at the stake in order to rid her of the spirit of an ancient witch. And she has a fever. And but she calls you in to show you the meager earthly remains of her night nurse, Darius, who has been burnt to a crisp except for his ankles and feet. As an FBI agent, how do you respond?
This is spontaneous human combustion, or what I call it is SHC.
SHC.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. You don't even need fan favorite medical examiner Dr. Kirtle Jr. to explain that to you.
Right. Well, let's be clear. She's not part of the paranormal division of the FBI. You know, she's just she catches normal criminals usually, right?
She's specifically a serial killer hunter.
Right, exactly. So, see, I have more background in paranormal phenomenon, so I would know it's SHC immediately.
Yeah.
Totally.
Can you imagine, quick parenthetical pitch to everybody, can you imagine a show called CSI Normal Crimes?
I would actually, I would love to see like a CSI-esque show that like leans hard into pseudo forensic science.
Yes.
But for a paranormal division.
Yes.
That would be cool.
I would love that. Like taking all that scientific gobbledygook, but making it about like, I guess it's just what ghost hunters do.
My roommate and I had a pitch for a show for a while. We didn't take this to anyone. This is the first time it's gone public. So I'm gauging interest. It's called Space House, and it's the show House, but it's just set in space.
But it's set in. I love that.
So every time he's like, in even the real show, he's like, oh, an artery in Idaho would have done this and been introduced to this thing because of starch and this sugar at this time. It's that, but it's all just
Star Trek
terms.
logic.
Where it's like, you didn't tell me that he's from the seventh moon of Pluto, which disappeared in 1942. Well, of course, and then it's just that.
I love that
that's
so much.
great. I love that.
Thank you.
A little while ago, my friends and I pitched a show called Space Hardee's.
Which
was about a Hardee's restaurant in space.
Oh, not the Hardy Boys. Okay.
Perfect.
And it would always start Space Hardee's, brought to you by Hardee's.
I love
yes.
that. This is like a little animated 22-minute eps kind of vibes.
No, we kind of envisioned it as an hour-long drama.
Now that I think about it, that is the best format for it.
Yeah, and it would have a lot of subplots having to deal with the multiverse.
Oh,
this
interesting.
feels very Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
People would use the word portal a lot. You got to go through the portal. The portal has become unstable.
Why is it so good? That's amazing.
There might be like, okay, here's a pitch for your show. What if there was a primary universe and a splinter universe, and they were connected through a portal that led to a secret bunker in which one iteration of one of the characters in the Splinterverse was forced to live and serve forever as an imaginative battery to maintain the existence of the Splinter universe to prevent the two universes from refusing together and killing everyone in Riverdale.
I would say greenlit, that's in my show, except I suspect the genius writers of Riverdale already thought of it.
Shit. I knew I was getting it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we move on from spontaneous human combustion,
I was about to bring us right back into it. So please tell me about it.
Let's stop right there.
I've got to talk about it.
Have you done it before?
Wait, I have a question. Azzy, what would happen if you didn't talk about it?
I might spontaneously human combust.
Oh no! Well, we have to avoid that.
Okay,
please talk about it.
Please ask the question.
My whole life have been fascinated with not necessarily supernatural phenomena, because I don't think that this is a thing that happens.
Okay.
I want to come out. I want to come out and say that I don't think spontaneous human combustion is real.
Okay.
Bold,
you put me on blast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like we can't.
But I do think it's very interesting. Any sort of unexplained phenomena, shout out the Kentucky meat showers. I'm super into, including spontaneous human combustion. So I appreciated this show's attention to detail. Other than the whole SHC thing, the whole only Darius's shoes and like below the knee was left. That's from a real case of real case of spontaneous human combustion.
That's true. Yeah.
And then shout out the Wick effect. I just wanted to say that for all the listeners out there that want somebody to talk to about spontaneous human combustion because they watched this episode of Riverdale and felt inspired, go look at my Instagram.
Yeah, and
Maple,
you know what?
Stop.
On that note, Venmo all of us $7,000
at least.
Jared,
Yeah.
you have something to say.
I'd love to take the $7,000. I'll take it.
No,
I didn't have anything to say. I didn't have anything to say.
Stop.
I mean, I'm willing to say something. Can we get into Reggie and
let's turn to Reggie. Let's turn to Reggie and Veronica's.
Thoughts.
Okay, please.
Yeah. Speaking of things heating up.
First of all, the actor that plays Reggie is so fantastic in May, December.
Everyone who's been I think 9 out of 10 guests have brought up Charles Melton in May, December.
Okay, great. Well, me too. And then second, I want to say it's so fucked up for the character to take slot machines out of the casino that he's partners with Veronica in and put them into his garage for him and his buddies to play. And he said, but you can kind of understand why he does it because he says he just wanted something for himself, you know?
Can I provide a little?
I've felt that way. I've felt that way as someone who's been married for 9 years. Sometimes I just want something for myself, you know?
Yeah.
So you can
That's
relate.
why my garage is my man cave.
Yeah. So okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Jared. If I'm hearing I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah.
Because you need a little space to just be you.
Yeah.
You might, in order to cancel out the debt that your father, who's going to be dead within 1 or 2 years because of liver failure, has accrued with the wise guys who work for Veronica's Abuelita's Iceman Geraldo, you might agree to run your family business dealership as a sort of chop shop / illegal casino for them so that your father can continue happily having a gambling addiction and live out the rest of his years as best as he can.
First of all, yes. Second, I didn't know any of that was going on.
Okay.
But now it makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Because I've had kind of like similar stuff going on in my own life with my man cave.
Yeah.
When my boys come over.
Yeah.
Right. And by your boys, you mean the wise guys who your father owes like hundreds of thousands of dollars to.
Look, my boys aren't wise guys, but some of them get into some pretty shady shit. Okay.
Oh my God.
Those are my boys, you know?
Would you say this was like the first time you saw yourself represented in media? Like it's a pretty unique struggle. And I'm glad that you have this.
Yeah. Well, as a white man, I rarely get to see myself represented in media.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, it must have been really empowering then to see finally a boxing match between two white men trying to prove which one was stronger and had the rights to the town and which one would have to erect a statue of the other one's racist ancestor.
It was so empowering. Especially because Percival won, and that's who I identify with.
In all fairness, like earlier in the episode, Archie, and I'm not a Percival apologist, but like early in the episode, Archie was like, it would be unfair for me to fight KO. Great setup for the joke, by the way, Sarah, in last episode.
Thank you.
Where Archie was like, but it would be unfair for me to fight KO. And then they're like, yeah, but the thing is, like, you're not really going to fight him or whatever. This was a fight. Like, this was right? Like, this was actually, like, the Palladium balanced everything out? Or does the Palladium make Archie super weak?
It makes him extra weak.
Oh, well, then that's a little unfair,
and
actually.
Also, he's being punched by a rock.
Well, that was also really unfair, I thought. I don't know boxing super well. Most of my understanding is from the Pokemon Geodude.
You're not allowed to put minerals in your gloves.
Geodude or Hitmonchan?
Pardon?
Geodude or Hitmonchan?
Illegal Geodude fighting rings.
Illegal Geodude fighting rings. Okay. Not Hitmonchan, the boxing Pokemon.
No, that one doesn't have.
But Geodude, the floating rock with arms.
No, when it comes to boxing Pokemon, there's only one for me.
If you watch any boxing or MMA or whatever event, you will always see as they walk down to the ring or whatever they're fighting in, that there's somebody there ready to pat their gloves and check their wrist tape, just to make sure that they're not sneaking anything in. And who's the referee for this fight but Frank Andrews?
Archie's uncle Frank Andrews.
And he's proven that he's kind of on Percival's side in terms of the new sign and the statue.
Yeah. Well, all the old white guys are sort of enthralled by Percival.
Yeah.
Right. He's mind controlled. It's not his fault. But can I ask something?
Yeah.
In the old comics, Archie didn't have superpowers.
Right.
So,
what a twist.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So what's the origin of Archie's invulnerability, and does anybody else have superpowers?
Oh, Omar, do you want to take this one?
Oh, absolutely. It all kind of goes back to a moment where Hiram Lodge put a bomb underneath Archie's bed, and when it exploded, an act of destruction. It also happened simultaneously while Archie and Betty were making out, which is an act of love, while
Jughead's writing in the basement.
Jughead was writing, which is an act of creativity, while there was a curse on the town, which was an act of magic, as well as the Palladium, the aforementioned Palladium, which was an act of science. That explosion created the pocket universe of Riverdale. They were able to make Riverdale unpocket itself through a series of many plans that didn't happen, and then in the end Jughead was like, I'll just write the story and fix it. And then when our characters woke up, the separation of the universes started to give them magic. So that answers question one. Question two, do other people have powers? I think you might have picked up on the fact that Jughead can hear thoughts. That is a power that Jughead Jones has. We are also starting to develop pyrokinesis abilities, which may or may not be related to that. We also, which in a world of like haunting dolls is like, that's par for the course. And then finally, Betty can tell if people mean her bad intent because they have an aura around them. Did that come up in the episode for you at any point? Did Betty's aura abilities?
I don't think that did.
Pop?
I didn't see it.
Then it's not your fault. You might have not known that Betty has superpowers.
And there will be other powers manifesting. There's like a brief moment in this episode when, I believe it's this one, Tony Topaz is talking to the social worker who's checking in on baby Anthony. And she sort of like has this vision of like deja vu. That was her glimpsing into a similar scene that happened in Riverdale.
Oh.
Yeah. The lighting was different.
Okay, now it all makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, especially all the stuff you said about an act of love and an act of destruction.
Yeah, well, as we all know, that's how you make a pocket universe.
Yeah.
I mean, it totally tracks.
Because that was
according to this book on paranormal phenomena that I've been reading.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was also in the comics, in all fairness. And you might say, well, I don't remember it from the Archie Digest comics. The comics I'm referring to, sorry, were the comics that Jughead realized he'd collected, which were comics about the Archie universe that were about them. And in the comic, it shows a panel of him reading the comic because they are within the comic universe.
Yeah.
Does that all help?
Does that clarify?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a question for you, Jared.
I think the writers could maybe like an anti-convulsive medication. And sometimes,
sure.
Maybe
I don't know how that
stick.
I don't know how that would interact with the
some
toxic
of the highs
fumes,
and
though.
lows.
I see. Yeah, it is it's a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah,
right.
Put them all in lithium, which is sort of the Riverdale writers' room's palladium. Jared, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is rewinding a little bit, but let's say you're aspiring to become the folk hero for a town to provide a sort of shared mental tether to protect people from the mind control powers of Percival Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
And your plan is to have this sort of public boxing match with professional boxer K.O. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out that Percival Pickens, who you do know has mind control powers, convinced K.O. Kelly to walk into traffic, and now he can't fight.
Mm-hmm.
You've already confronted Percival Pickens directly, and you've shown him that you're resistant to his mind control powers. He has evidence of that directly.
Right.
But he's still challenging you to a boxing match in front of the town. Are you going to accept?
I mean, you know, in a way, like every great hero's journey, all the other doors have closed, you know, like
sure, yeah.
You're putting yourself up on that wall, and maybe there's no way to win, but it's the fight that counts, you know,
it's
like
Luke's aunt and uncle being shot by stormtroopers.
Because I might argue that there is another way, which is you don't have to agree to him as a replacement in the match.
Yeah, you could argue that, but like, don't you think though that like really his hands were tied? Like he had to, because if he doesn't, then he won't become a folk hero.
I guess for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way, Omar?
Well, I'm in the middle. Honestly, I'm gonna say yeah to whoever last speaks.
Oh, okay, cool.
Then I'll make up my mind. That's how I vote, by the way. Is like I bubble as I go down.
True. If I'm in this purely hypothetical situation, I might be asking myself. First, I might have the instinct of thinking like, well, obviously I'm gonna win. I have like superpowers that make me invulnerable.
Yeah.
But then I might pause for just a second and be like, wait a second. This man who I do know has mind control magic, and I do know that he's aware that I'm resistant to his mind control magic, and I know that he's aware that I have invulnerable skin because he mind controlled me into stabbing myself with a box cutter.
Yeah.
He might have something planned.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd probably maybe decline.
Well, you don't have enough town pride.
I guess I'll never be a folk hero.
Yeah, you might not have town pride.
It's about honor, you know. If someone challenges you, you know, you have to take them up on their challenge.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, it's not always the smartest thing to do or the right thing to do.
Yeah,
but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I guess like now I'm thinking, like if someone. Let's say I run a casino and I've started serving sliders and alcoholic milkshakes and stealing the clientele from my two friends' businesses, and then I notice the casino is empty, and I want to go check on what they're doing to see how they stole all the clients back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess that's a similar instance where it's like a challenge being made, but I wouldn't want them to know I was there spying on them.
Would you think about maybe wearing like some sort of disguise?
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking like maybe just like a really blonde, like a platinum blonde wig would be enough.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I will say, like in this hypothetical scenario, the showroom might be about the size of a master bedroom.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The entire floor of the showroom.
Like you're making eye contact with everyone.
Yeah, right. But
I think the wig will work though, because normally I have black hair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna see someone with blonde hair.
Correct.
Yeah.
And oh god, I was wondering like where did I come up with this great plan?
Yeah.
And I just remembered that that's exactly how Veronica Lodge snuck into the White Worm to spy on Tony and Tabitha's sexy dance.
That's right. Yeah,
that happened in this episode. I remember. I remember Percival with a woman.
Yeah, did you not recognize that was Veronica, Omar?
I thought it was just a new character we hadn't met yet.
Oh, well, it honestly, it's only on the rewatch that I understood who it was.
That's wild. Did you have subtitles on or something?
You gotta rewatch the episodes.
That's what I have to do. That's I can't believe it. Honestly, I'm shocked and ashamed of myself. I do like that Pickens' plan to divvy up the town was thwarted by Veronica being like, anyway, we're working together. And he was like, what? And she's like, yeah, this was stupid.
Can I ask, why doesn't Pickens mind control Veronica? He seems to want Veronica to do a bunch of stuff.
That's a great question.
Okay, my understanding, and this is purely headcanon because it's not explicit, I think he'd already mind-controlled Veronica into selling milkshakes and sliders. Because I don't think she would have done that of her own accord.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, selling milkshakes and sliders at your casino, like, there's literally no reason anyone would do that. So,
on the house, of course.
On the house. She's like, we're barely solvent, but let us sell gourmet sliders and alcoholic milkshakes on the house.
Would you rather have free diner-esque tapas at a casino, or just go to a diner and pay like the $7 to support an establishment that we've fought every single season to save?
Well, I guess, am I one of the sort of 30 or so named characters of the cast, or am I just an extra who like appears in the town occasionally?
I think you're an extra who appears in the town occasionally.
I'm going to the casino.
Okay.
You just like to hear Percival sing.
That's what it is.
He sang at the Sydney Opera House.
So can we talk about when Tony and Tabitha are talking about? Well, I feel like Dr. Seuss are talking about trying to save Pop's Diner.
Yeah,
and you could put a gun to my head. I could not tell you which one said this, but one of them goes, "We can't keep up with them with the budget of a Baz Luhrmann film."
Right.
Yeah.
That's weird, because like that was like millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, can we look up the budget for Australia ! Just to see how
Great
what we're dealing with here?
Did he make Moulin Rouge?
Yeah, he made Moulin Rouge. Great Gatsby had a budget.
He made Elvis.
He made Elvis.
Great Gatsby had $105 million for a budget. I think that's enough. I think that's enough to save your diner.
Maybe they made one good movie.
Maybe they meant Strictly Ballroom. Maybe that's what they meant. They only seen his earlier works.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that was hyperbole.
Australia had $130 million.
It's a lot, and they also re-released it. If I'm not mistaken, as a TV show
whole
recently.
Country.
Yeah.
Can I be honest, guys? That was just a cheap writer's ploy to pander to the audience of 13-year-olds who love the filmmaking of Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
I do want to say that was the second Moulin Rouge reference of the episode.
Really?
What was the first?
Percival Pickens sang at the Moulin Rouge.
Oh, that's right.
Were all of those? Is this a secret Baz Luhrmann episode? Because Moulin Rouge, Sydney, Baz Luhrmann's Australian. What was the other place that he sang at again?
Caesar's Palace.
Is Caesar's Palace anything to do with Baz Luhrmann? Did Baz Luhrmann ever?
I'm thinking about it.
Well, in the sense that Caesar...
Elvis played at Caesar in Las Vegas.
That's a much more direct connection than what I was going to make.
Yes.
Well, go ahead, Sarah.
Just as Julius Caesar was betrayed by his friends in the Senate and proven in the end to stand alone in his dying moments, so too was Gatsby. Proven alone despite the opulent displays of sociality he surrounded himself with.
I've always thought that Julius Caesar was the story of the death of the American dream.
I agree. My favorite line in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar is when Julius gives that monologue about continuing to reach for that orgastic green light. It's like,
I love when Nick yells to Julius Caesar, "You're better than the lot of them, Caesar." The whole of them put together.
But it's so
and
fucked
then he
when
gets
Brutus
stabbed so many times.
And when Brutus finds him in the pool. Okay, we gotta move forward.
This is a lot of subtext. I haven't seen all this subtext with Julius Caesar.
Yeah, you're missing out. You should talk to Ross Bryant about it. Shakespeare expert.
I haven't read all the studies.
I think we're coming to the final main plot. We got to close out here. Yeah. Veronica and Tabitha and Tony have defeated Percival Pickens' machinations through the power of clear, open communication and cooperation and friendship. And now we just got to resolve this Cheryl thing, because she's got a fever of like 217 degrees right now, everyone.
Yeah.
She gives me fever.
Dead.
You know, traditional medical science would say that you would die.
Oh, I think pyrokinetics are probably resistant.
Yeah.
But before they knew that, right? They were like, Cheryl, your temperature is 114 degrees or something. And it's like, you're you can't.
dead.
I actually don't know if the thermometer goes that
I don't
high.
think her temperature hit that height until after Betty had spoken to Agent Drake and learned that Cheryl was probably a nascent pyrokinetic.
Okay, great.
But once you've heard that your friend is probably a nascent pyrokinetic and your friend hits like dangerously high temperatures, you don't have to worry about taking him to the hospital or anything, because
this is a new level
why.
of anti-vax in a way, right? Where you're just like, yes, you have a fever. Now, we could give you medicine, or we could ride this out and see if you might have the Phoenix Force in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about the Phoenix Force?
Well, Azzy, there's so much Phoenix Force talk to come.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. Don't think that that's a thread the writers will lose here. Jared.
Yeah.
Your friend has a fever of 217 degrees. You're pretty confident she's a nascent pyrokinetic because your friend Agent Drake told you. How do you get her to channel the heat from her body externally for the first time?
It's tough because taking control of your powers can be really difficult.
Yeah.
As we have seen in stuff like the X-Men. Right? So
I'm something
really
of an X-Man myself, Jared.
Right. Right. So
Everyone
what it's like.
Everyone clap.
You know what it's like to be.
That's one of my
You know
favorite
what it's
jokes.
like to be feared and shunned by the humans.
Yes.
And so it's important, though, I think, taking a note from another part of the show.
Okay.
To have an emotional tether to your powers. So if you think about it, really, even though the various plots in the episode feel like someone just played Mad Libs, they actually are intricately woven together in a way that is incredibly genius, because what that nascent pyrokinetic would need would be an emotional tether, not necessarily one that made them more confident or happy, but maybe one that's able to channel their rage.
I love that. So if someone is trying to magically encroach on you from without, you need an external tether that reminds you of sort of like honor and happiness and love to buffer yourself from this external encroachment. But if you instead are suffering from an upswell of dangerous energy within, you need an externalized tether that can serve as a lightning rod for all of the dangerous negative emotional energy within you and externalize it.
That's exactly what I meant. Yes.
It's a completely consistent magic system.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I realized I loved about this show was the world building.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've not seen world building this cohesive since Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Big B-sand drop in the pod. And
I
you
would
know
have.
what? I'm not going to shit on Brandon Sanderson.
I've never read it, actually.
I'm not going to shit on Brandon Sanderson. Mistborn is a good trilogy. I'll give him that. And most importantly, Brandon Sanderson will forever have a special spot in my heart for finishing Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. Did he do it perfectly? No. Do I have notes? Many. Do I want to get into them now? I can't. I'd be here for 17 hours.
When I saw anything Wheel of Time get mentioned, I watched Sarah's eyes glaze over with a sheen.
Yeah.
And I was terrified.
Well, I have mixed feelings about Brandon Sanderson because I think his current prominence as like master of fantasy is actually unearned. I don't think the Kingkiller Chronicles is all that good. I couldn't get through the first book, though, to be fair. However, I think he did as good of a job as anyone possibly could have at finishing The Wheel of Time. And so I do want to applaud him for that. And Brandon Sanderson, if you want to be a guest on our Riverdale Season 6 rewatch pod, I know you're not that busy, please reach out.
I tried to read a Brandon Sanderson novel one time, and it struck me as incredibly Mormon.
Dude.
And that's not a positive or negative trait, but it is one that I don't really search out in the writing that I enjoy.
I really enjoyed 95% of the Mistborn trilogy, and then the last 5% is the most Mormon thing ever written, and I was so pissed.
The characters in a Brandon Sanderson novel always feel like your youth pastor is telling you a joke at church.
Oh,
I think that's accurate.
One time at a wedding, I scoffed and I got in a little bit of trouble. For context, in college, I was studying film and media studies as well as marine biology. I later had to drop out of marine biology just because my schedule didn't work. And also I wasn't smart enough to take Chem 1B. But I was at a friend's wedding and the pastor went, you can't fathom the love that the Lord has for you. Fathom is an interesting word. I wondered what that was. I looked it up and it's ways we measure the length in the ocean. And I asked myself, what's the deepest part of the ocean? So I looked it up. And I sat there and I was like, how do you know it's not the Mariana Trench? How do you not know that? How do you not know that just from the Transformers 1 movie?
Not
they
know
dropped Megatron all the way down to the Mariana Trench. And I sat there and I crossed my arms and he's like, because the thing is I'm a little bit of a science nerd. And I almost shouted out loud, if you were, you would have known. If you were, you would have known, sir. But instead I packed it down because it was a friend's wedding.
When I was 19, I went to the first wedding of a friend that I'd been to for my friends who were also 19. And it was in Florida. And it was at a church that had a bunch of Tim Tebow books in the lobby.
Sure.
And the pastor gave a sermon about how beautiful it was to see two young people who still valued marriage and the word of the Lord and weren't just jumping into having sex extramaritally.
Yes.
And as a sort of forever atheist Jew who was studying philosophy at the time and was only friends with all of the evangelical kids because they were the other kids on campus who didn't drink. I just want to say I found it fascinating at an anthropological level. But if you're a 19-year-old listener, don't get married just yet. Maybe don't get married just yet. Maybe just wait.
And my connection is the first girl I ever kissed was a Mormon.
And that's
look
fucked
at
up.
that.
That's I'm sorry. That's fucked up for you.
It kind of was.
When I was a kid, we were raised in the Pentecostal church. My grandfather was a pastor of the church, so that's where they speak in tongues and they shake and things. And I had a youth pastor named Pastor Steve. And I was extremely hardcore believer in all of the doctrine. And was really worried about the apocalypse, worried about the rapture. And I would go to all the youth services. So Pastor Steve had visited my house and had dinner with us. I had gone on like backpacking trips with the youth group and with Pastor Steve. I knew Pastor Steve very well. And then one day he called anybody who wanted to come up and pray with him could come up to the front of the church. And I kneeled down at the altar and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Jeremy, what do you want to pray about today?
No, Pastor Steve. I,
in that instance, stopped believing in God.
Wow, Pastor Steve, you fucked up hard, dog.
You fucked up so bad, Pastor Steve.
You lost me, dude.
You lost me. Can't remember.
You lost me. Gotta remember those names, pal.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I'm half joking, but it's almost mostly true. That was kind of like, what the fuck, man? And then that started the dominoes falling over.
Yeah. That happened to me at a Starbucks. They were like, coffee
made you
for
stop believing
Scott,
in God?
and I was just like, I don't believe anymore.
Don't believe in God anymore.
I refuse. That's crazy. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you, but also what an informative moment in your life.
Yeah, I honestly, Jared,
I mean, if that's my worst trauma, I'm doing okay.
I guess I'm sorry that happened to you. The whole setup to that story had me so scared that it was going to be something significantly worse.
Oh God, I guess it did sound that way.
Yeah.
No, I've been very lucky to avoid such things in my life.
I'm glad.
And that's why I have very little sympathy for people who have. My life's been just a high five from Jesus, and
my life's actually
10 out of
been
10 would
great,
do
so I
again.
don't understand why everyone else is having such trouble having just a great life.
Yeah. Just buy a house and get married and stop complaining.
That's what I'm saying. Jared,
I one time got into an argument with someone on Twitter back when it was called Twitter about like jobs, and this person was essentially like, no, but you can just work your way out of being poor. And I don't know this person. I have no idea who this was back when I still used Twitter, and I was arguing with a stranger. And then at one point I was like, I have to stop doing this. And so I just responded, hey, I would love to continue this conversation in good faith, but I do have to step into an IKEA and I will lose reception. And that was the last message that I sent to this person.
Love that.
And I felt so powerful. I have never felt stronger. That was my Archie Andrews moment, I gotta say.
Yeah.
That was your, hey, buddy, let's take this outside.
That was my, hey, buddy, let's take this outside.
Y'all mind if I go on a very micro rant here?
Absolutely.
Please.
Let's go on the micro rant. And then we got some awards that we're going to need you to hand out, Jared.
It's just because you mentioned Twitter when it was called Twitter. I just want to say, since people listening to this podcast, stop making the joke about dead naming Twitter.
Yeah.
It's not a funny joke.
Yeah. Okay, as you did do that, balloons did pop up in your screen, and that was very weird. That was terrible timing. Just in case you're wondering.
I don't know how I triggered that.
Yeah.
I guess it was because I'm so triggered by all these people who think it's hilarious to make jokes about how Twitter's the one thing I'm okay dead naming. And like, first of all, that's not true. If you're a cis person, I promise you're okay dead naming other things. You just don't pay attention when you do it. And second of all, it's called X. Fucking grow up and deal with it. It's X.com. It's Elon Musk's X.com. That's where you're spending your time.
I quit because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to.
That's the only honorable
be
move.
there anymore.
Yeah,
It's the only honorable move.
I quit
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I had a couple conversations with some. Well, we have a couple conversations with some folks where I was like, I'm not really going to use it anymore because I'm also from the Bay Area. I bring it up a lot, I know, but I'm from the Bay Area, so like him flashing the giant X and stuff, I was like, I hate this. So I was like, yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna stop. And they're like, yeah, everyone keeps saying I'm gonna stop, but like, really? And I was like, no, but I will.
But
like,
actually,
I will. And they're like, sure, everyone says that. And I was like, well, I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm saying I'm going to.
Unlike everyone else, I'm looking at a portrait of Fred Andrews on the wall of the El Royale. And that emotional tether is allowing me to resist.
Emotionally tethered.
Yeah. Elon doesn't have mind powers over you.
No.
He doesn't. I'm
Not
safe.
yet.
Not yet.
Jared, we have some questions for you.
Great.
Specifically, we want you to give out some awards.
Is that okay?
And the first one,
Yeah.
Jared, have you met Oscar Montoya?
No, I haven't met Oscar Montoya. Is he on The Office?
Probably.
No.
No, he's not. There's a character named Oscar on The Office.
He should be,
Oscar Montoya, amazing performer, super wonderful. First guest on this podcast.
Okay.
And he created the Oscar Montoya Sin Pie Award for which character or inanimate object or animal or concept ate their slice of the sin pie and left no crumbs, who fucking crushed their scenes and was the standout of this episode.
Sin pie?
Yeah.
Yes.
So who crushed it? Who was the standout?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it's extremely tough.
For reference, previously it's been a spider, it's been Nana Rose, it's been it's been
In a car.
Bella, the haunted car, not the child predator.
Not the child predator ghost.
I'm gonna have to say the night nurse.
Darius with his curly lips.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dunk
what a
it,
great
Darius.
answer.
Because
It's the right answer.
I mean, he only gets one scene, but god damn.
Yeah, he crushes it. He crushes it. Good job,
not
Darius. R.I.P.
Yeah. Now we do have a second award, and you can repeat answers if you'd like, honestly. But we have the Ross Bryant and Notice Me Senpai Award.
I'm just realizing Cheryl killed Darius, and it's never going to get brought up again.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, also, something we didn't bring up. The episode ends with her reading, not the episode, but her plot ends with her reading Stephen King's Firestarter. And I just wanted to shout that out because that made me upset.
Wait. Oh my God, like her powers.
Yeah.
When did Firestarter come out?
a long time ago.
1980, I believe.
And this was 2021?
Maybe it's 82, actually.
I guess
you mean the movie or the book?
When I first started coming out as trans, I went and read Susan Stryker's Transgender History of the United States. I read Whipping Girl by Julia Serrano. And I think if I just found out I was a pyrokinetic, I would be seeking out media about that experience.
Fair enough. Yeah, you were right on the nose, 1980.
That doesn't make sense.
It wouldn't have had as much impact if, she had been reading like a Danielle Steele novel or something.
Yeah. True.
Love in the Fog. Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Unless it was called The Heat of Passion.
There you go.
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
I didn't know Cheryl. If you'd had told me earlier in the episode, asked me, does this character read? I would have been like, oh, I think she's functionally illiterate.
No, she's always doing scholarly work.
She actually constantly talks about, and we quote, her scholarly work.
Yeah.
I know Jughead reads. That was handled early, but I didn't know.
Yeah, but he can't write unless he hears music, apparently. So who gets the Ross Bryant Notice Me Senpai Award? Who's a character in this show that you'd love to be noticed by?
That I would love to be noticed by?
Yeah.
A character that I would love to be noticed by. Wow, that's a great question, too. Holy shit. Let me think about this. Do you guys don't ever answer these, right? It's just me.
Yeah, we have never ourselves
maybe
answered.
The last episode of the season.
I guess I would want Cheryl's Nana to notice me because she feels very
You're not the first.
Withholding with her love.
Nana Rose.
Two-time winner. Two-time winner.
Turn that one eye on me, baby.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, you're supposed to, where's your maternal, like, love? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to say Nana Rose. In case this wasn't clear, Nana Rose is the person who initially summoned the spirit of the dead witch Abigail and pushed her into her granddaughter's body, dooming her granddaughter's soul to a nightmarish hellscape in the dreamland.
No, I got that. Okay. I just feel like I'm just drawn to these people that withhold love. My wife is extremely cold with me and withholding.
You know what? Your wife's the future guest of the pod, so I'm not going to comment. Jared,
bring it up with her. Ask her about it.
I will.
We called you here. We have handwritten letters. I know that we said this is about Riverdale Season 6.
That was a ruse. There is no Riverdale Season 6 podcast. Jared, the third award comes from the episode with Mary Lou, but it is named after the character Britannia. And it goes to the moment of this episode that most made you say, what?
Oh, wow. So many.
What moment gets the Britannia Award?
Yeah, I know I've hit this beat a couple times, but I just couldn't believe that Reggie had taken the slot machines.
What a betrayal. What a
breach of trust.
Yes.
Well, Veronica agrees with you, and he will not be sharing her bed anytime soon.
Yeah. No, and if someone ever did that to me, I would definitely not be having sex with them. No way. No day.
In fact,
no way, no day.
I might suddenly become open to the possibility of having sex with an immortal racist warlock.
I might start, taking care of my sexual needs by going to see sexy dancing.
Sure.
Sure. In the basement of a diner that doubles as a bar.
Yeah.
Think it through.
I guess it's hard to predict the future.
Yeah. But luckily, we have one last award for you to give out. This is not really an award, but we call it one. It's the Dan Lippert Prediction Award. And you get to what's your prediction for the rest of the season? Where do you think this is going? I would say you're lucky. There are a lot of pieces on the board at this point. I think that you have the highest chance of getting this right.
You only have to make one
prediction. There are a lot
prediction.
of pieces on the board.
You don't have to predict the whole arc, just like one subplot.
Yeah, like what's an idea?
Yeah.
And whoever gets closest, we're going to compile all of our guests' answers. Whichever guest at the end of the season has gotten closest will be awarded an arsenic-laced scone.
I just feel like we're heading toward a massive boss battle with Percival.
Ooh.
And by massive boss battle, a lot of TV shows don't have the scope to do this kind of thing. But I'm thinking like Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes.
All the superheroes attacking the Anti-Monitor at once.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see, for some reason, I see Percival in some sort of power suit or exoskeleton.
Yeah.
Don't know why I'm envisioning that.
I love that.
But definitely pyrokinesis, invulnerability, auras that let you know if someone hates you. I mean, all of these things coming together to stop Mega Percival.
I love the prediction. We'll see what happens. Jared Logan, thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for showing me this show.
You're
I'm
so
gonna watch
welcome.
some more, I think.
Oh, yes. That's amazing.
Yes.
I'm gonna take a bunch of DMT and lay on my floor with saliva pulling around my face.
Yeah, that's how we watch the episodes.
Yeah.
Don't even need Netflix.
I can imagine our own episodes.
Yeah. You'd be just as close to right, I feel like. Jared, where can people find you?
Check me out on the Glass Cannon Network, where I do gaming, podcasts, and streams. I also have an old stream called Stream of Blood. All of that's on YouTube. Just look up Glass Cannon.
It was at this moment Jared Logan's internet disconnected.
Oh boy.
And that's it. That's all you have to look up.
What is it? A .com, .net, .org? I guess it's on YouTube, so it's none of those things.
Glasscannon.what?
Glass Cannon what?
Lord.
Well, you could find Jared on Glass Cannon, where he DMs amazing campaigns. As you've seen, he has a mind for this stuff.
Yes.
He's also DMs a running Pathfinder podcast played in by fellow guest of the pod, Mary Lou. So check that stuff out. And I can go ahead and tell you, I think this episode will be dropping early August, and I don't think Gen Con will have happened yet.
Editor's note, Gen Con has already happened. This is why you don't record 18 episodes of a podcast in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But Jared Logan will be doing a comedy special, a TTRPG comedy lecture at Gen Con that you can buy tickets for and see him live talking about your favorite games and DMing and all that and jazz.
Yes, go check that out.
And Azzy, where can people find you?
What the fuck? I'll edit that out. I think somebody's like drilling.
Oh, we can't hear it.
Don't
but
edit that out.
Keep the what the fuck in.
Keep that in.
Okay. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at I need Azrael, Azrael. You can go follow the podcast at Riverdale 6 Pod. If our Patreon is a thing, you can find that.
I don't know if our Patreon's going to be is it going to be a thing?
I don't know if it's going to be a thing either, but we'll see.
You know what? Our Patreon will be a thing.
It'll be
Why
a
not?
thing.
All $0 levels.
Yeah, all $0 levels. No, I want money. If you want to give us money, you're welcome to give us money. We're all broke.
We're all like very willing to take the money. Oh my god.
We do this for fun, and we're happy for you to listen for free because times are tough for everybody. But if you happen to have money to spare and want to give it to us, like, we're not gonna say no.
No. Now I understand that
no. Fuck. The curse is over.
Oh, sorry. Well, you know what then? Azzy and I will just split the money 50-50.
Okay.
No, I think that was a glitch in the Skype call or in the Zoom call. I was saying, like, I was agreeing with, like, it was echolalia.
Yeah, no, we won't say
really.
No, we won't turn it down, I think. Yeah. Omar.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and all of your echolalia glory?
You can find me in all my echolalia glory in multiple places, starting with the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, where recently I found out as Serena and I were going on it that we just repeated all the noises we heard of all the animals and little talking skeletons until someone went, "Are you guys going to do that all right?" Other than that, you can find me over at Instagram at Omar Najam Film. You can find me, I believe, at Gen Con. I'll have some official announcements over on Instagram closer to Gen Con time when those things are locked down. And also, currently, immediately, you can find me right in Azzy's neighborhood as I am fracking. I'm so sorry that you're hearing those noises, but I'm just drilling. Pumping a little bit of water into the thirsty earth in order to unlock precious gases that I will use to build my empire.
I love that. Can't stop progress, baby. I'm Sara Caplan. You can find me on Instagram at Sara Rose Caplan, where I do a lot of promotion of improv shows. I also teach improv workshops. I got a Substack too, if you want to find that. It's Sara Caplan on Substack. And I will be at Gen Con doing TTRPG improv with Ross and Mary Lou, like very soon, I think, from when this episode drops. And lastly, you can also find me in Azzy's neighborhood, but I'm there stalking Omar. Because after our conversation with Harper Rose, I was like, you know what? Stalking sounds fun. And I've been stalking Omar. I've been stalking Omar since then.
Just follow the sound of fracking. That's all I can say. If you want to find me, follow the frack.
And if you want to find me, follow Omar, because that's what I'm doing. And listeners, thank you so much for joining us today for another thrilling episode of Riverdale Season 6, the podcast. We hope you tune in next week. We have a whole bevy of amazing guests coming up. And
next week, I believe we've got dinosaur expert himself, Stephen Ray Morris.
Yes, dinosaur expert himself, Stephen Ray Morris is our next episode. And then after that, guys, we got like Amy Vorpal, Zach Reno, Jess McKenna. We got Laser Weber. We got Kara Klang. And
oh my
God, special surprise guest. Someone who actually directed an episode of Riverdale. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, guys, get ready. And I guess, Omar, do you want to close us off? Do you want to do our traditional closing here?
I would love to. As we say every episode. Bye.